everyone. Welcome to a special podcast here on PWPonderings.com. We have an incredibly special guest on the line right now. As I was saying on the newscast, probably one of the least people of the Ring of Honor talent pool that anyone would guess would come on a podcast of ours. Michael Bennett is here with us. Mike, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing fantastic. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty well. Of course, I am joined by my podcast of honor cohorts, Ari Berenstein. Ari, how are you doing?
Oh, very good.
And Chris Micchio as well. Chris, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. This just should be one hell of a show.
It really should be. So, of course, this is as I said, is a official kind of podcast of honor. We are, of course, previewing the 13th anniversary that is taking place. It is live. And you know what? We just got to start off this way just because for those of you that have listened to our podcast of honor for a long time, you've been with the website, and thank you if you have been. There was a time when Mike, I don't mean to say this in the best way, but we weren't particularly fans of Michael Bennett.
What?
I know.
Come on.
Shameful. Shame
I
on
don't know
us.
what you're talking about, GST. This is wrong.
My amnesia is kicking in right about now.
Absolutely.
Can't believe it.
I know. You know what? It comes down to, obviously we're all longtime Ring of Honor fans. You have been in Ring of Honor long enough to see a lot of the transitions, and now we're in the new regime of Sinclair. And I think this is probably the best time as any to say, Mike, I'm sorry I wasn't a fan of yours from the get-go. So
you know what? No apology is needed. A lot of criticism I received early on was very much warranted. But, we evolve and we move on. And actually a lot of the criticism I embraced because it just, as wrestling, if you get used to what you're doing and you settle down, then you become stale. So I almost embrace it because you can't help but try to get better if people are just poo-pooing on you all the time,
Agreed. Well, not to throw him under the bus, but Ari, you've been a fan of Bennett's for a while. You even wrote an article a couple months ago defending him in many ways to, I would say, our readership. Yeah. Anything you have to say?
Well, no, I want to say that I really appreciate Mike's wrestling, especially since the last 2 years or so. I think things have, I really do see, things in hindsight a lot better about what was going on then. And I really didn't have a problem with Mike Bennett, actually. My criticisms were never about him personally. It was more like, man, they're trying to jam him on the TV all the time, and it just, it was just me. It was my personal take on it. But no, I definitely see that there's a place and a spot for Michael Bennett in ROH, especially now. There's a lot of good stuff that he's doing, that he's involved in, and so definitely I'm glad to talk to him and person to person on the phone, and definitely looking forward to the interview. So there you go, Mike.
Well, thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. Trust me.
Well, I think first, the biggest thing to talk about is obviously this 13th anniversary. It's a big time for Ring of Honor. There's a lot of buzz, particularly with the news they've released in the past days as of this recording. So, you know what? Why don't we just get that out of the way first? Samoa Joe, the Ring of Honor legend, he is coming back. And Mike, obviously you being in Ring of Honor for the time you've been, I'm assuming you've also been a fan. You've seen a lot of the stuff. This has to excite you, not just as a talent, but hey, Ring of Honor, we're already riding this high, and that just made it even higher.
Yeah, it's for me, and I think for a lot of guys, anytime the guys that helped build the company that we work for now, when they can come back and still be such a big part of it, it's always exciting. And you get guys like AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels and Joe, and they're all coming back, and I can tell you there's no bitterness. Everyone's just excited. Everyone's like, hell yeah, come back. You guys are the reason this company exists. You guys are the reason this company has lasted so long. So, and plus he's just so good. All those guys are so awesome. So yeah, there's definitely a buzz in the locker room anytime one of those guys come back, and definitely with Joe. He's Ring of Honor to the core. He represents everything that's good about this company.
Has there been a time for the locker? Like we said, it's Samoa Joe. He's returning, but also the big news that the New Japan joint shows, they are happening. I know there was a lot of speculation online. I'm sure you read it. You probably have a lot of your fans tweeting you like, hey, what's going on with this? They finally did announce that they have the shows coming up, and they haven't released any talent. names yet,
Mm.
but I mean, we can assume there are names out there. And Mike, you went over to New Japan. You and Adam Cole, you got and Maria as well. And are there any
And
particular
Matt
talents?
Taven.
And Matt Taven, yes. Are there any talents that you in particular are hoping for?
I hope honestly that they bring back the same guys they brought last time. I, I'm such a huge fan of Tanahashi. I was a huge fan before I wrestled him, and then not to sound corny or anything, but this last time I went over to New Japan, I actually got to really bond with him on the tour bus and everything. He's just a really great guy, not only from a wrestling perspective, but a human being perspective. Me personally, I think he is the greatest wrestler in the world right now. So if he could come back, I still think there's a lot of not so much diehard wrestling fans, but casual wrestling fans who probably aren't too familiar with him. And I would love for them to really get to see what us diehard wrestling fans see, and that's an amazing talent.
And you had a really good run in New Japan in the recent tour with Matt Taven, and you guys had a great run in the World Tag League. You defeated GST's best friend, Captain New Japan, and
Yes.
Jushin Liger. In fact, I think you have a couple wins over that team, and you also have a win against the team of Tenkoji and a couple other teams during that tournament. How was the experience of being in a tag league tournament with Taven overseas and just running through that for a couple weeks?
It's funny. After I was looking at the matches I was going to have at the beginning of the week, I made a joke with Captain New Japan that is he's like my Batman to me being Joker. After, I mean, I think we wrestled 4 times already, and I've only been over to Japan twice, so it's kind of funny. It's always fun getting in the ring with him just because he's so over and it's so easy. You literally just have to look at him and the crowd goes crazy. But me and Taven have been friends for, I would say, 6 or 7 years now. When he started training, I was kind of helping him break into the wrestling business. So it's really kind of cool to not only go to Japan, where it was a place I thought I would never get just because of the reactions I was always getting and people always telling me, you don't belong, but hopefully I'm glad someone over there saw something in me. But to be able to do it with my wife and then literally my best friend in professional wrestling, it's just so much fun. And I had never wrestled that many days in a row. We did 11 shows in 14 days. It was literally wrestle, get on the bus, drive to the next town, sleep, wrestle, drive on the bus. It was just crazy. But I learned so much, and I got to get in the ring with Tanahashi and Okada and Liger and just so many amazing people in the Bullet Club. And it was to this point, it was one of the top highlights of my career. And not only because of I was wrestling in Japan, but I literally learned so much. You can't help but learn when you're wrestling 11 days in a row.
Now let me ask you a quick question. Like you got New Japan dates before a lot of other, long-term established ROH guys. How did you catch any kind of flack from anybody, behind the scenes? Maybe get a little animosity from any of the other guys about you getting the date so quickly?
If there was any animosity from the boys, they didn't show it. I'm sure there's it's wrestling, it's entertainment. There's always jealousy. I mean, I get jealous when people get things I don't get because you just want them. You want to be better. But the most of the animosity I got was surprise from the fans. But no, they were everyone was really excited. The locker room in Ring of Honor is very different than any locker room I've ever been in because everyone's so supportive. When things go down, everyone's happy. When Steen gets signed by WWE, there's just a celebration. When me and Cole and Taven get to go to New Japan and Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, there's a celebration. When Bobby and Kyle won the IWGP tag titles, everyone's just happy. And if there is animosity, everyone's really good about not showing it. But it's such a tight-knit locker room that I'd be very surprised if there ever was any kind of animosity. We're all kind of from the same mindset that we work together, and we're all trying to put on a betterment of the show. And, we all know that at one point it'll be our time. So if we just wait and be happy, and I firmly believe in karma and positivity. So I always think that whatever I give out, I'll get back in return. So anytime something happens to someone, I'm just positive. And it seems it's that way across the board in Ring of Honor.
Cool.
You've been with Ring of Honor obviously long enough to see some of the changes that have happened, and it is now even though, I mean, like I said, it's so weird to say, but 4 years later, it is the new regime of Sinclair, and How has the locker room changed with that aspect? Like you said, it's more of a brotherhood. You guys are all kind of doing this together, and Ring of Honor has grown. I mean, Ari and Mickey and myself, we've seen Ring of Honor grow, arguably the number 2 promotion in the United States. And
Right.
I would just have to think that the locker room, you guys are just so exuberant about all of this.
Yeah, it's weird because when I first started, it was owned by Carrie Silkin, and it was more like a mom and pop store, if I can put it that way. Like everyone was very careful and cautious because it's like if crap goes down, it's going to be on Carrie Silkin. And Carrie Silkin's like our very loving father, so we got to be very careful because not only does Carrie employ us, but he's our friend. And now we're a major company, and it's kind of this weird feeling where it's not so much Carrie Silkin running it, but it's Sinclair. But on the flip side, now we are kind of more mainstream than we've ever been. So we're getting more opportunities, and we're getting endorsements. And to me, I think it's a much better deal. And it's not a knock on how Ring of Honor used to be, but if we want to progress and profit, this is definitely the way to go. And it always drives me nuts when people try to still call Ring of Honor an independent wrestling promotion, because I'm like, they're owned by a multi-million-dollar corporation. There's no way that's independent. We are a major, and like you said, I think with everything that's gone on in the past year, it's arguably could be the number 2 wrestling promotion in America.
I would say that with the different revenue streams coming in, I mean, like you said, you can make the argument. And I think it does have to be said, like, independent wrestling, we understand that Ring of Honor, it's no longer what it used to be. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Like I said, you guys have grown. But I also always kind of like to put it, and it's probably a bad analogy, but no, that's par for the course. It is kind of the gateway for a lot of fans, because if you are watching Ring of Honor and you see a Michael Bennett, Maria, a Matt Taven, then you will go, oh, I am invested in these talents. And then you might go and check and see where else they're working. It could be close to your place, it could not, but you go and check it out. Whereas I would say there's probably very few fans that watch NXT and then go, oh, well, I want to go see where else these guys have worked, because obviously now they're under a larger umbrella. So
Yeah.
I think that's obviously that's just there. Ari, you were saying?
I wanted to say that the one thing I really love, well, there's many things I really loved about Kerry Silkin owning the company and being around. One of the best things that he did was always to go around shaking everybody's hand. At the end of the show, he'd stand there at the end of the entranceway, and he'd ask what you thought of the show. And do credit to Joe Koff, because he's out there in the beginning and the end of the shows. And whether we can criticize and we can praise certain things that the SBG era has done. But the one thing that I think ROH does really well, whether you can label it as an indie or corporate, there is still that reach or outreach to the fans of live shows, and I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that's the coolest part about Ring of Honor is, and Maria always says this, and I think you nailed it. Like you invest in a wrestler while you're there. You're not really invested in an entire corporation, but when you go there, you're invested in a certain guy. So whether it's a Briscoe or whether it's an Adam Cole or a Taven, you're invested in that person, and it's still such an intimate setting where a lot of our shows there's 500, 1,000 people there, and you still feel like you're part of the show. And like you said, Joe and especially Carrie. I mean, I still call Carrie boss every time I see him. I always give him a big hug and I call him boss, because to me, he gave me my job and he'll always be my boss. But those guys are invested in the company, and I think the cool part about Ring of Honor is we know what makes us, and that's the fans. So without those fans, there is no company. So I think we have to keep it on a little bit of a personal level to say, hey, we know what you're doing, and we very much appreciate it.
Yeah. You guys did an amazing amount of people at the show in Atlanta last week, and you had the Armageddon tag match with the Briscoes. I managed to see some of the highlights on YouTube. Taven's running Doomsday device to the outside. Just what are your thoughts after that match, and being in that venue and that show? I think it really kind of caught me and a few people by surprise how well that house did, and just the rave reviews it's getting.
Yeah, it was one of those shows where I was in the back, and each match that went out there, I would literally look at Taven and I was like, holy crap, that match is awesome. And then the next match would go out there and you'd be like, holy crap, that match was awesome. And I just remember we had a meeting after the show, and Delirious just kind of pulled everyone aside, and it was like, you guys killed it. It's a week before a pay-per-view, and you guys absolutely killed it. And that was what. And I think that's such the cool thing about Ring of Honor. I saw a tweet that someone put out, and it said like, even a week before a pay-per-view, a house show, and the Ring of Honor roster doesn't nail it in. And that's kind of the vibe in the locker room all the time. Is we're always giving it 100%. And I know going into that tag team Armageddon match, like I remember looking at Taven and just saying, we got to kill it. Like, this is the last match against the Briscoes, whether people were excited about it or not. For the people that aren't excited about it, we got to show them that they should have been excited about it. And for the people that are excited about it, we have to prove them right. And, it was one of those matches where after it ended, I got goosebumps. And, like, I just remember feeling very emotional just because of the war that we went through. And it was very physical. The crap was kicked out of me. It was one of those matches where, like, the next morning I got on the plane and looked at Maria and was like, what the hell was I thinking? And I know we literally, me, Taven, Maria, and Cole, spent 6 hours in the emergency room with Taven so he could get stitches, or staples, in the top of his head. But it was just one of those special moments. And Taven texted me, I think last night after he had watched the VOD of it, and he just said that was his favorite moment in wrestling. And it's going to be up there for me, if not my favorite moment. Just the way the crowd reacted, the way it felt. It was just a perfect mix of this storyline that had been going on for a year, the Atlanta crowd being like 1,200 people there and just being absolutely rabid all night, and just being in there with two guys like the Briscoes, who I could literally work every single night and be a very happy camper. It was like the perfect storm. So, and I've been getting such great feedback. So if anyone, I'd love people to check it out and watch it, because it's a violent match, but it serves its purpose.
Now, how much momentum do you think you have going forward? After, I mean, in the eyes of most Ring of Honor fans, the Briscoes are like the greatest Ring of Honor tag team, and now you guys have beaten them in this giant feud-ending match. I mean, how much momentum do you guys feel like you have, going forward with the crowd, with the programs that you're going to be in? How you feeling about that now?
Yeah, it feels great. If for any fan that was there, I think they can tell you in Atlanta, after we hit that doomsday, and I covered Mark, and they counted to 3, there was a collective gasp in the room, because I think a lot of people didn't expect us to win, because it's the Briscoes and Jay's the champion, and it was just it really gave us that extra momentum. I mean, because a couple weeks before, we had another one of my favorite matches where me and Taven wrestled Hansen and Tommaso, and it was one of those matches where it's all 4 guys are from New England. I've known all 4 guys for 7, 8 years, and it was just one of those matches where I think a lot of people didn't expect it to be anything, and it ended up being something really cool, and it was a really cool moment for us. And then we had that, and that momentum kind of swung into the tag team Armageddon match, and then you add in who the Briscoes are and what they mean to Ring of Honor. And yeah, me and Taven are just kind of riding a high right now, and I'm so grateful for it. The fans that have kind of been on the fence about me seem to be kind of turning, and I'm so grateful that they're finally maybe seeing that, the past 12, 13 years I've been in wrestling actually does mean something. So it's been really cool. And now it's on to the Addiction and Bullet Club, and, guys like Carl Anderson and Doc and Christopher Daniels. I just think this is going to be another swing in the momentum for the Kingdom. So I'm very grateful for everything that we've gotten so far.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun.
And one of the 3 losses you did have in the World Tag League was to Doc and Carl Anderson. So you're looking to get over that one, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm hoping for. And that match, that was one of my favorite matches over there, just because Carl has been such a big supporter of mine ever since the New Japan joint shows. He's helped me out so much. So it's cool to finally get in the ring with him over there, and now it's going to be fun to get in the ring with him here on pay-per-view.
The Bullet Club, I mean, that's obviously been one of the bigger things going on in wrestling. I mean, you see everyone here, even in the United States, you have the shirts, you have the the photos, you have the beanies, you have whatever. When you were there in Japan, I mean, can you feel that? I'm assuming, is that palpable? Can you just go, you see them come out, and do the people have that same reaction?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They are, they're like the equivalent of what the NWO was. You feel. And the cool thing is they're all so true to what they do that they all travel together, and they do everything together. Sponsors take them out. they take them out together. They're a group all the time. And it's something that I admire. And that's something when the Kingdom was formed that I remember telling Cole and Taven and Maria, I said, we have to, if we're going to be a group, a faction, whatever you want to call it, we have to eat, sleep, live, breathe it. And that's what we did. And that's the reason why Taven goes to the hospital. Me, Cole, and Maria sit in the waiting room with them. That's literally what we do. We all rent a car together. We're all going out to eat together. We're true. I got that from watching the Bullet Club, and it translates. And I think that's why we've been on such a roll, because it's real to life. It just so happens that me, Taven, and Cole are best friends in real life, but it translates. You get that the fans can feel that connection because it's real, and that's one thing that the Bullet Club has, is it's real. So when they come out, and especially in New Japan, the fans are like, they can feel it. They definitely can feel it, and I think that's why they've been so successful.
So Ring of Honor's 13th anniversary show, it is this weekend on pay-per-view in Las Vegas, and it is a triangle match with the Bullet Club and the Addiction. What are the challenges of doing a triangle tag match? Because it's not a match that you normally see, even in like a Ring of Honor or New Japan for sure.
Yeah, no, it's I think anytime you have more than one person in the ring at a time, or anytime there's a group of people, it can always get kind of clustered. And I think that's the hardest part. I always hated being in triple threat matches, because it's like, well, now two guys are wrestling. Well, what the hell is the third guy doing? Is he just sitting on his hands, or what is he going to do? And now you add a third team. I think that's the biggest challenge. You have to figure out what everyone's doing at what time, so you don't make anyone look like an idiot and they're just standing there letting someone else beat you up or letting someone else win. But I think it also adds an element, because people are watching, and when there's that many people out there, it's a spectacle. Like, you look at the reason why, I don't know, Battle Royals or Royal Rumbles are so popular. It's because there's so many guys in there at once. So it's a spectacle, and people don't know where to put their eyes or divert their attention. So they're like, oh, this is just crazy. This is madness. But it can also, it's a gift, it's a curse. But I think when you have guys like Carl, Doc, Christopher, Frankie, they're so smart and so genius in professional wrestling that I think it's only going to add to the match and not take away from it.
There's also the match with Maria with yourself versus ODB with Mark Briscoe, and that was kind of a fun thing. On TV, I've been on record saying, Ring of Honor TV, you kind of get at some points formulaic, where you have the two opening matches and they're good, and then you have the really great main event, which the Kingdom has been a part of many times over the past weeks, and then ODB shows up, and it just kind of. It's exciting in the sense that you weren't expecting it. What has Maria? Obviously, Maria has been in a lot of wrestling places as well. Especially at the top of the industry. But when you have that kind of excitement, and I'm assuming that she and ODB, I don't think have ever faced in another person, at least not on a major scale. Is this exciting? Is this something different?
Yeah, no, I know. Maria, like, literally ever since she found out she was doing that match, she's been throwing ideas at me. We'll be driving, and she's like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then she's like, well, what do you think about this? And I'm like, she's literally thought about the match for the past 2 months, maybe, ever since she found out she was doing it in Nashville. And so she's literally been thinking about this match for 2 months, and I know she's excited. I don't think they've ever wrestled. I know that at one point, they were both down in OVW together when Maria first started. I'm sure they've maybe practiced together under Rip Rogers or something like that, but I don't think they've ever had a match. And like you said, they've never had a match on this kind of scale on pay-per-view. And but that moment in Nashville was so much fun, and I think it was cool because it was one of those moments when people are like, we did not see that coming, but it just fit so well. Like, I literally was watching that and being like, who thought of this, and how come no one ever thought of this before? Like, it's ODB, it's the Briscoes, it's literally genius, and the fact that nobody thought of it but should have thought of it, I think that was such the coolest moment about it, and especially doing it in Nashville, where she spent so much time with TNA, and the crowd, that reaction was one of the loudest I've heard at a Ring of Honor show, just because, like you said, nobody saw it coming, and it was perfect, and I think it was a mix of, we had been doing this feud for so long with the Briscoes, and the only catalyst that we had, the one constant was Maria always got a one-up. Maria was always one-upping Jay or Mark or whatever, and it's like, well, no one can put their hands on Maria. She's a girl, they're guys, and that's just disgusting, and why would you do that? But now it's like, all right, now there's someone who can finally put their hands on Maria, and it just happens to be a great female wrestler in ODB.
I think one of the best things about the 6-man tag that you guys had that was on TV was that ODB did mix it up with you guys personally, physically, but that Maria wasn't touched at all, and yet she was the one who got the pinfall at the end, I believe. And that's such a great, like, a heat moment. It's when you look at that and see on TV, it's just like, that's perfect to add to, the, like, a rivalry between two forces, such as the Briscoes and then the Kingdom. I mean, it works so well.
Yeah, no, that was our mindset going in. I just remember when the match was booked and we talked about it and we said, well, and this is just kind of a thought process that we go through. We knew that the pay-per-view match was going to happen afterwards. So I just remember Maria saying, well, then she can't touch me. And then the minute she looks like she's going to finish me off, that's when we get it. And the best moment, I thought, was literally when Maria just kind of crawled over and made the pin, because she wasn't responsible for knocking ODB out, but she took all the glory, and it just kind of poked. It added the fuel to the fire of what Maria had been doing these past years. So, and I think it builds to people wanting to see Maria finally, get her butt kicked.
Now, it's funny, you're talking about, getting heat and all that. It's like, of all the guys on the ROH roster over the last few years, you might be one of the biggest heat magnets in the promotion. Do you enjoy it? Because it seems like you do. Every time we've seen you live, it seems like you're really enjoying getting the reactions that you do from the crowd.
I absolutely love it. It's my favorite part about wrestling. I tell everyone my favorite part about wrestling is selling and getting people to hate me, because it's my job. That's what you do. It's how I was trained. It's how Bob trained me. It's how Steve Bradley trained me, and Rip Rogers. Like, you're the bad guy. You should have no redeemable qualities. You should be a good wrestler, and you should be entertaining. And I don't mean that like the fans should still enjoy to see you, but they should hate you. And that's what I try to do. And I try to go into the match thinking, all right, if they start cheering for this, I'm going to have to take that away. And if they start cheering for that, I'm going to have to take that away. And then I think, all right, well, where are we? What town are we in? What can I do to make them hate me here? Who am I wrestling? Okay, well, what can I do to make them hate me because I'm wrestling so-and-so or so-and-so? And it's just, thinking about it, like you go into a match with the Briscoes, and my mindset is, well, they're the complete opposite of who me and Taven are. Me and Taven are arrogant and cocky, and we think we're good looking, and we think the girls love us, and I have a hot wife, and this and that. So the Briscoes they're ugly, and Mark's missing his teeth, and they're rednecks. So I try to think I have to be the most arrogant, good looking, in your face type of heel I can possibly be because of who I'm wrestling. And it excites me. It's fun. If you're booing me and you're throwing toilet paper at me and you're literally invested, then I'm doing my job, and I like doing my job. It's fun for me. I always go back to, like, I think it was on John Cena was on Steve Austin's podcast, and he said Shawn Michaels gave him the advice that if they're making noise, it's good. And that's kind of how I go into wrestling.
Yeah, because I remember with Glory by Honor 12, I think it was, when you beat Kevin Steen, it was nuclear.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like the ultimate moment for, the bile to come out. And it was just like, I even though I was upset because I'm a huge Kevin Steen guy, I saw it and I was like, this is the best thing that they can do, because he is just it's going to be nuclear for you from that point on.
Yeah. And that was a great, that feud is totally up there as such an odd, I mean, Kevin's a genius, pure 100% wrestling genius. And, I'm so happy for him, but that was such a good moment. And I thought it's funny because me and Kevin, leading up to that, even when Cornette was in office, we had been pitching, ideas of, we should do something together, because Kevin's the total opposite of me and I'm the total opposite of Kevin. And we knew it would work. And we just because of our personalities and how we worked together, we knew it would be something. And like you said, that moment, I just remember that too. It was that moment where you were like, all right, we have something here, because these fans are pissed, and it was really cool.
Do
So we
you?
got. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Oh no, go ahead, Ari.
Uh, well, I was going to ask. I mean, we got to talk about the Michael Bennett bachelor party at this point. I mean, because
Oh, man.
I mean, I watched it not too long ago, and it was just amazing in all the right ways. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I mean, this was. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but was this a legitimate bachelor party for you? And how much did you know what was going on at the time?
It was a legit bachelor part. I mean, I had my brother, who was my best man, threw one for me in Boston just because I had to have family there. But it was a legit. I mean, we partied, we had fun. I knew about 50-50. Adam Cole literally did book the whole thing. He told me that months in advance. He said, I've gotten the okay to book the entire show. And it was literally, like I said, me, Taven, and Cole are the best of friends in real life. So we were literally having the time of our life just sitting there. I mean, it was we were just inside joke after inside joke. And I actually have a really funny story, and I think you can see it. And I don't know if Taven said you can see it. There's a moment, I don't remember what match it is, but there's a moment where we had these like confetti poppers. They're like big giant boots, and you pull it, and confetti shoots out. Now, Taven handed it to me, and he goes, I think there's a match going on. And he hands it to me, and he says, how do you use this? And I was like, dude, I have no idea, and I'm trying to figure it out. And then the match ends, so Taven's like, screw it. I think you just pull it like this. Now, he ends up aiming the wrong side, and he aims it at himself. And it's positioned in a spot where a man probably wouldn't like to get hit. And he ends up, he pulls it, and it just absolutely blasts him where the sun doesn't shine. And only I saw it, and then Ryan from Pro Wrestling Tees was sitting behind us, and he saw it. And I was crying laughing. And I asked Taven if they caught it on TV, on the camera, and I believe they do. So if you get a chance, you can watch Taven get hit in the balls with a confetti streamer. It's amazing.
Awesome. I gotta say, I loved Roderick Strong in the casual clothes, going toe to toe with Mark Briscoe. I love Drunk Cheeseburger. That was fantastic. And then the other thing is, I know you just talked about you got to stay hated, but I mean those flashing color gloves with I mean you got to bring that back at some point. So
those were actual gifts that Cole and Taven surprised me with. They said we have gifts for you. I didn't know what they were, so I thought they were awesome.
So you mentioned how yourself, Taven, and Cole and Maria, you guys travel together. You guys obviously talk about this business, and I just kind of want to ask, how does that feel when Ring of Honor is a kind of a different time, but they're also younger wrestlers in Ring of Honor. I think honestly, right now the locker room is probably one of the best locker rooms that Ring of Honor has ever had. But when watching the Kingdom and seeing what you guys do to get heat. And you kind of watch other wrestling promotions, and I'm not going to throw any of them under the bus, but you watch some of how their heels interact on those shows, and they're doing topes, they're doing crowd flashy stuff. I mean, do you think that this is an art that's been lost over time?
Yeah, no, I think being a heel is lost on a lot of guys because it's very difficult to go out there and have people not like you and try to embrace the fact that they don't like you. But wrestling, in a sense, has also it's progressed and it's changed, and you have to be constantly thinking on your feet. And I think that's why it's so much fun to have guys like Taven and Cole and Maria, who if someone sat down and talked to her about wrestling, I think their opinion of who she is as in this business would completely change because her mind for wrestling is absolutely amazing. She's the one person I go to with ideas, and she's always telling me whether something's. I mean, I'll come through the curtain, and she'll be the first one to say, "Wow, that match that sucked, Mike. You need to step it up." And I absolutely love her for that. But yeah, I think that's what's so cool about having those people around me is I can constantly bounce ideas off of them and figure out what can make me the best heel. And I think nowadays in the wrestling climate, it's extremely difficult to be a heel that not only people boo, but they want to boo. And I think that's the hard thing to do, is be a heel that people enjoy hating. You know, like Vince McMahon, people enjoyed hating him when Stone Cold was their top baby face. And it's like, you need to love to hate the heel, and it's a lost art form. And I think a lot of guys nowadays, and that's one of my biggest criticisms in wrestling, is a lot of guys now just want to get the cheap pop and the car crash reaction than they do tell an actual story, let it slowly build, let it marinate, have a good guy, have a bad guy, have a Batman, have a Joker, let it work. Because if you watch any good wrestling match, any match that you said was the best match of the year, I mean, I always use Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. It was a slow build. It was everything that you needed in a wrestling match. You were invested in these characters, and I think people need to get invested in characters more, and you can only do that by being a good heel, being a good babyface, and don't get that cheap pop. Get the pop at the end of the match that you're essentially striving for.
I mean, along those lines, I think you probably had a lot of those kind of learning experiences on the independents even before Ring of Honor. But then doing series of matches with guys like Steve Corino and Lance Storm, and having Jerry Lynn's farewell match, and obviously the match against Tanahashi at the NJPW crossover show. I mean, those had to have been great working moments for you, and what did you learn, and what are the benefits of working those guys and getting to be in the ring with them, especially in like a series of matches with Carino and Storm?
Yeah, no, I was extremely lucky that when I first started, Carino offered to work with me, and not only work with me, but put me over huge. Like, if you watch those matches back, which I have done recently, he put me over so big, so strong, made me look like a force to be reckoned with. And I think that's one of the things I learned the most. He taught me how to be a good heel, because who's a better heel than Steve Corino? And he taught me how to be a good heel. He taught me how to work the crowd, how to get that heat that made them absolutely hate you. And then you go from him to someone like Lance Storm, who's just so decorated. And I like to say that was the first match where I feel like I started coming out of my shell as a performer, and he gave me that confidence to do it, because where you have a guy who I've admired growing up and then requesting to work with you, asking Cornette, okay, well, if I come into Ring of Honor, this is the guy I want to work with, you can't help but get out of your shell, because you're like, all right, it gives you that confidence to say, all right, I do know what I'm doing, despite what the fans are saying to me on social media. Here's Lance Storm, who knows what a good wrestler needs and takes, and he sees that in me, so now I have to prove him right. And then, from there, going to someone like Kevin Steen, who was the top guy, I always tell people he was the one who taught me how to be a Ring of Honor wrestler. At first, I was a wrestler. I knew the basics. I knew how to do this, 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 and this. I thought I was a really good heel at that point, but I didn't think I was where I needed to be as a heel in Ring of Honor. And Steen was the one who showed me how to do that, with still being entertaining and still putting on matches people want to see, but still getting the heat you need at the very end, which is what matters. And then, I can't say enough nice things about Tanahashi. He helped me get into New Japan. You're in there with a guy that is, so over and is literally the best in the world, in my opinion. And he taught me, how to do that Japanese style. He's taught me, just how to be in there with a guy of his caliber and hold my own. And that's another thing. He gave me the confidence I needed to do this tour of Japan and to do those big shows where you're in front of 20, 30,000 people. He's another person that just gave me the confidence I needed. So it's a stepping stone. You go from Carino to Lance to Steve to Tanahashi. They all add their little mixes, and I'm sure they've taught me more than I'm forgetting. But I always leave the match learning something new, and every single one of those guys has helped me out more than I can possibly think of. I can't thank them enough.
I have. Sorry, Chris. I just had to adjust something there. But yeah, something I did want to ask about. I wanted to actually go way back in the day, because I actually don't think some of the current or newer Ring of Honor fans know that you actually, before being brought in for the extended run in 2011, you you actually had a couple of opportunities and a couple of appearances for Ring of Honor, especially in the New England area. I mean, your debut, I think, was a Proving Ground versus Daniel Puder. It wasn't Michael Bennett. It wasn't the Prodigy. It was Mikey Bennett. I think was on the cover of the DVD. I just saw the match again last week. It was interesting to say the least. What do you remember about the being in that match and being in that environment and just sort of the experience overall of being in Ring of Honor at that moment, and then like working with Daniel Puder, who's I mean he's so weird in terms of the like the placement he has in wrestling history, with what he did with Kurt Angle and how he was treating
Yeah.
WWE. He had like a brief spell in Ring of Honor, I think, but didn't really quite last. So what was it like to be there at that time and that match, which I think it ended on an ankle lock of all things.
Yeah, no, I remember it vividly. It was one of those times where I've known Bobby Cruz for literally my whole wrestling career, and he was the one who was giving me. He's always been a huge supporter of mine, and he's a huge reason where I am today. He never gets enough credit for it. But yeah, he was helping me get dark matches and stuff like that and appearances with Ring of Honor. And it just kind of so happened, I know at the time, Bobby would always tell me, he's like, Gabe's a big fan of yours. He wants to bring you in. But, and I would get this a lot, and this isn't an egotistical thing. It's just literally what I was told time and time again. And Gabe would tell me this all the time. He said, I want to bring you into Ring of Honor, but I'm pretty sure WWE is going to sign you soon, so there's no point in me bringing you in. And so it was just kind of one of those things where I'd go, I'd do an appearance, and then I'd leave. And then I'd come and I'd do a dark match, and then I'd leave. And I always was like, well, I don't really think there's a future here because this is what Gabe would tell me. And if that's his opinion, then that's his opinion. But it just, they booked me again for a dark match. And then Bobby's like, I think I can get you on the main show. And I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, whatever you want. And he's like, you'll probably lose in like 30 seconds. And I've always been the type that, an opportunity is an opportunity. And I was like, Bobby, I don't care. It's exposure. It's something. It's a step in the right direction. So I remember I did a dark match, and I think the dark match was against Rhett Titus. I think. I may be wrong, but I did the dark match, and they're like, want to give you a win earlier in the night. So then when you come out, you're already established and people have already seen you. So I beat Rhett, and then they had an open challenge, and it was, here I come. No reaction. Crowd was like, who's this idiot? And I think I tapped out, like you said, to like a leg locker or something like that, really fast. But it was fun, and I enjoyed it. And as far as Puder goes, he was great to me. I ended up talking to him, staying in touch with him for years afterwards. He was just really nice. I think he's one of those guys that gets a bad rap because he just is who he is and doesn't really apologize for it. But he hung around me all night. He talked to me. We were, was really down to earth, and I really enjoyed working with him. I don't know about other stories. I don't know if other guys didn't like working with him. He's had kind of like this weird run in pro wrestling. But like I said, I was just happy to be on the show, and I don't care. I could have tapped out to Grizzly Redwood, and I would have done it with a smile on my face because I was getting an opportunity. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I cherish all those moments that I had.
And Larry Sweeney was a part of that match too, and obviously his birthday just passed a couple weeks ago, and amazing talent, and I think his like that whole segment was with him and Claudio coming out at some point, and Dragon came out to interact with them, and that led into Dragon versus Brent Albright. I mean, he was like such a great comedy manager, but also a great heel manager, and he was sort of like the glue that put that segment together and kept everything going.
And I wish I had known him because when I started with Ring of Honor, he wasn't really around, and I'd only met him a few times during those dark matches. But every time I watched him, I was like, wow, this is a guy that is fun to watch, and everyone that knows him just speaks so highly of him as a person and as a performer. So it's one of those people that I really wish I got the time to get to know better and pick his brain, because to me he was super entertaining.
The question I ask almost everybody we talk to is, what other guys would you like to see, maybe brought into ROH to get their shot like you got yours?
There's so many good independent talents right now. you know, a guy like Chris Dickinson just did the show in Dayton, he's been around forever, and I don't understand why he doesn't get more opportunities. And there's a kid in the New England area, JT Dunn, who's really making waves. There's another kid, Jimmy Preston, the one-man thrill ride, who I've known for a long time, who's super entertaining, and he puts out these videos that are so funny that I think he could be an asset to Ring of Honor. There's just so many guys. I would love to see these guys get opportunities. I just, you know, and I think it's funny because people always tell me, what do you have to do to get to Ring of Honor? And I tell them, go to these stupid camps that they have. And people are always like, well, I think they're a work. And I'm like, no, you wouldn't believe the amount of guys. They signed me, Tommaso, Taven, Adam Cole has gone to a camp. Hansen has gone to a camp. Dijak, who just recently won the Top Prospect tournament. Like these are guys. Elgin went to a camp. Like these are the guys that are now on top of Ring of Honor. So go to these. It costs like $200 and you get your money's worth. And what's the worst that's going to happen? They say, well, you need to improve on this. Okay, cool. It blows my mind. Some guys that don't want to put the investment into it.
Better person to, or Matt Hardy, better to wrestle with or better to team with him? Because I know you had the opportunity to wrestle him a couple of years ago, or was it last year? I forget. But and then obviously he was a big part of the early days with the Kingdom with Adam Cole.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I loved wrestling him, but to me, me and him kind of represent the same sort of heel in Ring of Honor. So when you put the two of us together, it was just so much fun. So I was super bummed out when he left the company, and I hope there's more in the future because he really helped put the Kingdom where it needed to be with his name, and then endorsing me and Cole. I hope, fingers crossed, we haven't seen the last of Matt Hardy in Ring of Honor because it's just so, I can learn so much from that guy. I mean, the stuff he's done is absolutely incredible. So he's helped me more than people realize.
All right, so going forward, you going to stick with the team with Taven, or are you going to make a run for the singles championship? We got to know.
You know what? I'm going to say for the very foreseeable future, it's going to be me and Taven because I'm literally having the time of my life. I had so much fun going out there with him and Maria. So I think there's still so much more we can accomplish, not only here, but I think in New Japan as well. So I think it's Taven. Definitely.
All right, so what we're saying here is that Adam Cole, who I consider the best wrestler in the world today, everybody knows this. I'm a bit of a fan of his, if you can't tell. So he's So when he comes back, he's going for the big strap, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what
and how is he doing? I got to know, how is he doing? Is he okay?
Jesus Christ, Mikio.
He's Cole's doing actually really good. He's moving along. I know he's just absolutely itching to get back in the ring. So I think you'll see him sooner rather than later, but you didn't hear that.
Please send my regards. We love him. I love him over here.
You sound like
All
Steve
right.
Carino.
Yes, there you go. Exactly. Well, so now that Mikio is talking up this, I got to say, so Mikio just got married last month, and you obviously recently newlywed with Maria. What are some newlywed tips you can give my friend here, Mr. Mikio, for a good marriage?
You know, God, it literally, it's so simple. It's just respect one another. You literally just have to respect what one another does. And people always ask me that. They go, how do you deal with the fact that Maria has seen so much more success than you have? And I say, because I respect it and I admire it. And it's one of those things where I know what she's done. She knows what I've done. And we know where we're both at in our lives and our careers. And when she's successful, I'm successful. And vice versa. When I'm successful, she's successful. So it really comes down to me as a respect and an ego thing. Leave your ego at the door. As soon as you get married, you're one person. You become Mr. and Mrs. whatever, Mr. and Mrs. Bennett, Mr. and Mrs. anything. So you are now that person. So, it's just a respect thing. And to me, it's always come so easy just because I'm like, well, Jesus, it's Maria. I'm always going to respect what she does. I lucked out. In all honesty, it boils down to just respect what each other has done.
That's it. That's about as easy advice to follow, man. Thank you. I appreciate hearing that from you.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry about that. Will you still be doing the podcast with Maria? I know you started doing the, I think Mike and Maria in Wonderland over at Fanoff, which also hosts RBR, which obviously I think I've listened to over the years. A big fan of that. But you did a good couple dozen podcasts. Any plans to return to that, or is that sort of shelved for now?
Yeah, no, that's definitely coming back. I would say it's coming back within this month. It was literally one of those things where it's one of my favorite things to do. I had such a blast doing it. So it was one of those things where we kind of stopped doing it around the wedding for obvious reasons. Too busy. We were in different places all the time. And then from there, as soon as the wedding ended, we went to Japan. And then as soon as we got back from Japan, it was the holidays. And then as soon as the holidays ended, we ended up moving into our new place. So now that we're finally settled and there's nothing kind of too crazy coming up, we're definitely going to get back to it. It was just kind of one thing that everything was out of our hands, and but no, it's fun, and we've gotten great feedback from it. So I just want to do it. Like I'm always like, wow, it's literally just me and Maria bantering back and forth, and then we have a cool guest like Kevin Steen or Cole or someone like that, and then they get to banter with us. So I love doing it. It's a great way to, kind of express how I feel about life and wrestling and politics and stuff like that. And if people will listen, then more power to you. So, I think we are definitely going to start it back up. It's just a matter of, not if, but when.
Well, the big show takes place March 1st. It's live on pay-per-view. It is the 13th anniversary of Ring of Honor, of course, a company that we all love and have respected for quite a time. Mike Bennett, you're in the match. The Kingdom versus the Addiction versus the Bullet Club. I mean, I think a lot of fans are looking forward to that. Of course, Maria Kanellis, she's taking on ODB, and the event itself is headlined by the Four Corner Survival for the Ring of Honor World Championship with Jay Briscoe, Elgin, Tommaso Ciampa, and Hanson. And as we noted before, you're holding quite a few wins over the Briscoes, so I'm assuming you, Adam Cole, and Taven will probably all have your eyes on the main event. But, of course, we like to give our guests a chance to plug their stuff, take it away.
Honestly, just follow me on Twitter at Real Mike Bennett. Follow me on Instagram at The Real Mike Bennett. Honestly, I love to send people to at ROHWrestling.com because that's where you can see all of our shows. Just watch that. And like I said, the podcast, Mike and Maria in Wonderland will be back up sooner rather than later. Just check me out. Check out the stuff. There's a whole bunch of New Japan matches from the World Tag League. Look it up on the Daily Motion video or YouTube. I just want to get my matches out there and to show people that there's more to me than they see on Ring of Honor. Just check that stuff out. And keep following Ring of Honor Wrestling because I have a feeling it's going to be a really good year, not only just for England, but Ring of Honor in general. There's a lot of good things in the works. So, yeah, just follow that.
You really do get that feeling right now. You really do. Something big's going to happen this year.
Yeah, it feels really good. I'm excited about it.
Well, Mike, thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate it. And, as we said, we'll be following your career as we always have. And,
thank you.
Best of luck
fun.
going
I really
forward.
appreciate it. Have me back anytime. I'd love to do it. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. This was great.
Thank you, guys.